Just south of the town of Penrith, you will find two prehistoric meeting places, Mayburgh Henge and King Arthur's Round Table. In this film, we investigate a lost prehistoric routeway leading to them. A routeway where 3 or possibly 4 standing stones miraculously survive unnoticed in the landscape today, despite the construction of Roman roads, railways and motorways. And one of those stones is completely unknown, lost deep in private farmland, miles from any footpaths, unscheduled. It appears on camera here for the first time ever. And we will be asking, is this prehistoric routeway on a mysterious and powerful energy ley line?
And that's my bit.
The destination of our proposed route then, the 2 henges south of Penrith, and there were once 3, seem like they must have been a focal point during the Neolithic. Today they are part of a rich, wider landscape of underappreciated prehistoric antiquities. Not so long ago there were even more. The area is so overlooked that today in the 21st century, survivors such as this magnificent Neolithic long cairn known as Brown Rig remain unscheduled and unprotected. This cairn is close to our Routeway megalith that we're putting on camera here for the first time, and that too is unscheduled. Others have suggested the possible existence of further stone rows approaching the Penrith henges. This then is our proposal for one such route, stone by surviving stone. Here is our first stone in this proposed routeway that we are trying to identify, heading north from our sites at Mayburgh and King Arthur's Round Table. Now, as you will see, this is in a pretty incongruous location. It's an industrial estate, quite an old industrial estate, I would say. It would appear to be built into the grounds of a sort of grand house that was once here. It may still be here, but I can't see it. Now, if you look at the Ordnance Survey map, you'll see this stone is named and marked with the evocative oldie-worldy style Ordnance Survey lettering. It is actually a scheduled ancient monument. To me, it is clearly a Neolithic stone, and it has a similar sort of vibe to it, to that stone that exists in the centre, the one that survived in the centre of Mayburgh Henge. Well, I'm pleased to see that somebody has cut back the vegetation. I'd seen pictures online of this where it was completely buried in undergrowth. So it's good to see that somebody has looked after it recently, even if they perhaps don't know the importance of it. I think this is a really important stone, so quirky, surviving in this sort of location. I love it, actually. Although I have to say, I'm not getting any sort of ley line energy vibes at the moment. Nope. No energy, but rather wonderful to see that surviving on this industrial estate. Now, if you look out that way, you do get a glimpse. You see a little bit of the countryside that has survived the encroachment of the industrial estate, the motorways, that this stone would have once been looking at. Probably 100 years ago, it had been looking out on that sort of pastoral scene, down to the river and then down to Mayburgh Henge and King Arthur's Round Table. And as ever with these things, there are accounts telling us some antiquarian came here somewhere down the line and met a farmer, and that farmer told him that he remembered there being 2 stones here. So I presume that's before the industrial estate was thrown up around it. So as usual, we are within touching distance of things being better, but we must see the glass as half full here. It's wonderful that this has survived when you look at how its world has changed all around it. Now, there's going to be a little bit of this this week, sort of back of the car, in lay-bys, on the side of the road, that sort of thing. The next stone in my proposed prehistoric routeway is called the Sewborrans Stone, something like that. It is on private land, So I've sent the drone over into the field to have a look to it. I hope I have got the right one. Now, this is a scheduled ancient monument. It's an interesting stone in that many people think that it is or was part of a stone row on the scale potentially of that used to exist down the road at Shap. Apparently, there are some stones that you can see, other fragments of stones in the hedge line. Now, with my eyes on the tiny little screen that you get on the drone, I don't know whether I'm going to be able to find those. But if I did, you're no doubt looking at those as some sort of overlay right now. If I didn't, you're probably looking at my ugly mug. But it's an interesting stone, this one. There is an old reference to a stone circle somewhere in this area called the Rig. And there's a place called Newton Rig, I think it is, nearby. So some have also proposed that this stone may be the sole survivor of a lost stone circle. Or, and the rain is starting, is the stone that is in that field over there, is that part of my proposed prehistoric routeway heading north? I have some doubts as to whether that one is part of it, actually, but we will come back to that in due course. Our next standing stone may very well be the largest in the whole of Cumberland. And bizarrely, it was only discovered something like about 20 years ago. Now, it is in private farmland over there behind me, but fortunately, it is close enough to the public highway such that I can send the drone over to take a look to it whilst maintaining that legal requirement for line of sight. And there it is. What a beauty. It stands at over 3 meters tall. There is evidence of packing stones. There is a possible destroyed mound. It may be stood on a former mound of some kind. Now, I want you to also notice here how close it is to the Victorian Railway, and then just over, a short way over that way, you will also see the M6. We seem to have an area here which is an area of choice for travel through the millennia. This one has various names: Lowhouse, Kitchen Hill Bridge and Home Head. That is a real beauty, isn't it? And to me, there is no doubt that is a Neolithic standing stone. It's not Bronze Age. And the idea that it is a rubbing post that some kindly farmer has erected for cows to have a scratch on is clearly ludicrous. Effort, reward, doesn't make sense, does it? That is a fascinating Neolithic standing stone, possibly the largest in Cumberland, in this interesting position where we seem to have routeways travelling through our landscape. It was actually scheduled in 1998, but that's still surprisingly late in the day for such an obvious standing stone and indicative of how this area is underappreciated. And the remains of a possible mutilated mound do show up if you look at this site on the LiDAR. I literally can't believe this. It has just been brought to my attention that 41% of you haven't, let's be frank, bothered subscribing to this channel. Now, remember, subscribing is free of charge and without obligation. It only helps the little content creator. It does not help any rich people. I repeat, no rich people are helped by you subscribing. So please subscribe. Put this right. Well, this is an exceptional day for WC21 UK Productions Limited, because whilst Mrs. WC21 UK Productions Limited is back at the studio researching this theory, a mumbo-jumbo theory about ley lines, I've come out into the field, as is my way, and I have managed to secure us an exclusive right of access to visit this mysterious megalithic standing stone that nobody has ever put on camera, that nobody knows anything about, that stands out in the fields, you know, to the north. I think we're something like 4 or 5 miles north of Penrith, and apparently, potentially, in an alignment with some other surviving megaliths. I am so excited to see it. I'm sort of skipping here because I had pretty much zero expectation that I'd get permission to come and see this today. So it really is a very special moment. If you're wondering why I've got all this clobber when it's a lovely blue sky, we are in a gap, I think, in the weather. It is forecast to turn, it's been really stormy, and it's going to be stormy again later today. So I better get a crack on. Now, I can't stress more firmly, this is deep on private land. We are nowhere near any public footpaths. There's not a public right-of-way for miles around here. So I have got permission to do this. Please respect that permission and don't try and do this at home. The moment of truth. I'm approaching the access to the field that is going to lead us to our standing stone. It's directly across that way. And rather charmingly, there's a solitary tree in the sort of fence line next to it. It looks amazing. Now, as I probably keep banging on about, this is private, so please do not try this unless you've got permission. But this should be enough. You're going to get a digital view of it. You don't need to come here and wade through this mud yourself. Come on. The oldest written record I can find for this is something like about 2014. I'll correct it on the screen if I've got that wrong. And that's on the megalithic portal of all places. Beyond that, there just seems to be nothing in writing on it. It is on the historic environment record. It's flagged on there, a little blue triangle or something. But, you know, nothing really. I think it just says prehistoric, or maybe it says Bronze Age. It's interesting how we approach it, that these sort of track marks in the grass are headed straight for it. The lovely farmer's wife, if that's what she is, I don't want to stereotype anybody, heaven forbid in this day and age, she tells me that her grandchildren love to come out here and climb on this stone. I mean, they must be the luckiest grandchildren in the world, having a completely secret and private prehistoric standing stone. Lucky grandchildren. Now, we've had a number of triumphs in our time on this channel in terms of being the first to put rare antiquities on camera, and that is certainly the case here today. I've got one just behind the camera over here, which I'm going to show you in a minute. But first of all, I just want to put it into perspective of its landscape. I'm sure you can see the motorway, that's the M6 over there, and then beyond this fence at the end of the field is the railway line. So we've got a motorway, probably 70 years old. We've got a railway line there, about 200 years old. Just across the fields that way, we have a 2,000-year-old Roman road. So it seems to be a favoured route for transport. And then here, not even a third of a field away from the railway line, we have our beautiful, secret, unknown standing stone. And I'm going to call it the Monkhouse Stone, after the name of the farm. Now, we've got to be careful. Is this a prehistoric standing stone? We don't know. Of course, it could be a boundary stone from much later on, albeit now I'm seeing it, it is a significant one. Look at the size of it. It's pretty chunky. It's worth pointing out and noting that down here in the sort of hedge line, I think it's probably a former hedge line that divides the two fields and that the stone sits upon, we have got some quite significant chunks of what appear to be the same type of rock. They look more than sort of old dry stone walling to me. They are large chunks of stone. You may have just seen a potter's wheel interlude. Well, that was to save me from the indignity of you witnessing my attempts to scramble over this barbed wire fence. I wanted to get round this side into the next field to show you it and for me to look at it, because it is here where we can see the full extent of it down the lower sort of end, because it is obvious that this field bank has been built around it, that I think you get a sense of the real scale of it. And I am in no doubt this is a prehistoric standing stone that has been here for thousands of years, probably 4,000 years. Look at the height of it. I haven't got any means to measure it. I'm not going to use the fish scaler Swiss Army knife thing. It would take all day. But you could estimate from that the sort of height that we're looking at. It's a significant stone. Interestingly, there's a little sort of, or what could be a little shelf carved in that side down there, but I can't see any other obvious rock carvings on it. It will be interesting to line this up with the others on the map, but now I'm here in this landscape with the motorway, the railway, the Roman road, just looking at it. it is clear to me that this is the natural way to travel through this landscape. And I think what we're looking at here is the first man-made route through that landscape. A rare bit of it that is left here today, you know, and it probably was leading to Mayburgh Henge, I reckon. Just look at that alignment between the Monk's House and Lowhouse Stones, keeping west of the river at this stage. I may not believe in ley lines, but I do believe in man-made ones, and that can't be a coincidental alignment, surely. Looking at the whole route, I'd say it is up for debate as to whether the Sewborrans Stone is part of this or not. But I am sure that we are headed for our weird industrial estate stone here, and then on over the river for the Henges. I've checked my notes. We are about 2 miles north of the Lowhouse Standing Stone. We're about 5 miles north of the industrial estate Standing Stone here. And I believe this also goes by the name, it's either Old Hall Standing Stone or possibly Old Rig Standing Stone. I'll no doubt do it down there. It's incredible, stood here on my way back looking across the field to it there. You know, I am looking at 20th century travel, I'm looking at 19th century travel, and I'm looking at prehistoric travel through this landscape. It's only the Romans who are the odd ones out there, a mile or so over that way. Awkward so-and-sos.
My husband doesn't believe in ley lines. In fact, the other day he said,
Don't talk to me about ley lines. It's the sort of empirical poppycock that brings amateur YouTube antiquarianism into disrepute.
I'm not so closed-minded. When he was going on about his prehistoric routeway the other day north of Penrith, I decided to check out the Belinus Line, or Belinus Line, that runs along that area. Named after a Celtic sun god, this ley line is also known as the Spine of Albion because it runs the length of the country. On check-in, it's further west than his line, but it is quite close to the Newton Rig end of things. Anyway, these are part of a network of dragon lines, so there's every chance that his route was part of this network.
I literally cannot believe that we now have over 100 members supporting our endeavours. £5.49 per month secures you early access to all of our new videos and one member-exclusive video every month. £3.99 per month for a weekly update video and closed member posts. For more, check out the link in the description. You introduced the idea of this ley line to me the other day, and as you know, I think this falls into the category of mumbo jumbo. Can you tell us, what is it about the idea of ley lines that appeals to you?
Well, it's very difficult to explain, isn't it? Because it's all about feelings and what draws you to a place, I think. For instance, you know, what brought us to this area of the country. We're very close to Lonsdale, which is one of the ley lines runs through. And then last year we did an impromptu visit to Scotland. We went to Pitlochry and we stayed in Blair Atholl, which is just, you know, a mile or so.
I was involved in all of these decisions and I wasn't aware of a ley line.
And neither was I at the time, but now looking back, what drew us to those places?
So is a ley line something you can actually feel? Do you feel that you are on a ley line?
Sometimes, yes.
And what does that feel like?
Well, for somebody that doesn't know about feelings, it's very difficult to explain.
Yeah, I don't do feelings great, do I? So, but it's like an energy?
Yes, I think so. I think that's a good way to describe it.
Goodness me. Well, thanks for that. Each their own. Another incredible first there for WC21. UK Productions Limited. Monk House, megalithic, standing stone, on camera. Mrs. WC21 UK Productions Limited will have it that I'm stood here on a ley line. I believe that I'm stood here on a prehistoric routeway through the landscape that goes back over 4,000 years, taking us to an important ceremonial meeting place. We'll have to agree to differ on that, and I'll be interested to read in the comments down below what you think. But I guess if I am on a mumbo-jumbo-y sort of ley line thing, then something weird's going to happen at the end of the video, isn't it? But I know that it won't. I'll see you next week.